Hello friends, welcome to LeggLife, and this is going to be different than all of our other Sunday videos. In fact, this is going to be different than any video we've ever put up on our channel.
Correct.
Because for the first time in 5.5 years on YouTube, we have to let you know that there are going to be some graphic images in this video.
Yep.
So some of you may not want to watch that because we're doing something kind of unique today. Sherri Beth, what is this video about?
We are going to talk about my entire journey with the Exfoliative Erythroderma.
And the reason that we're doing this, Sherri and I have been talking about this, and I didn't think we would make this video. And then Sherri was like, I want to make it. Like, are you sure? Like, are you sure you want to make it? No. And she was like, and I want to show photos. And we've talked about this for a few weeks now, just to make sure that she actually wanted to do that. And the primary reason you want to is why?
Before I got my diagnosis, and then when I got my diagnosis, we were online looking for anything that looked similar, and once we got like an actual name, we were looking for that, and there's just nothing. There's medical journals and all the doctor speak that we couldn't find anything that was in like real people terms of what this is, what the experience is, how to make it better. Like, there was just nothing. And so my hope for this video is that if there's anybody else out there going through something similar, that we can help them out, like give them tips on what we did to kind of manage, and if they've never heard this term before, to be able to take it to their doctor and say, maybe this is what I have.
Yeah, so the whole hope behind this video, we know that this video isn't relevant to the vast majority of our LeggLife audience. Right. But for us, this video is for like that one person. Honestly, it's for that like one couple, that one family who is going through something like we went through. And for us, we were looking for help, we were looking for ideas, we were looking for what this could be. And we hope that maybe for one person, Sherri's journey and our journey brings them answers, and like maybe I don't know, maybe it's helpful to see somebody else's journey, because just like Sherri said, for us, when we found like medical speak and just like overwhelming stuff that we didn't know what it meant,
right,
it didn't help. So we thought, well, this channel, LeggLife, is where we share our life and our journey. And so that's exactly what this video is going to be. It's going to be Sherri's entire exfoliative erythroderma journey. We're going to show you the photos of what the whole journey was like. We're going to tell you the entire story, the entire process. And are you ready?
Sure.
Here we go. Now, we have talked a lot about parts of this journey throughout the vlogs we've made as we've been documenting this.
Yeah.
But what we're going to do in this, so some of this will be information you have heard before. We're just going to kind of tell the whole story. Sherri, let's start back at the beginning. How did all of this start? And even before all of this start, tell us about like the skin conditions, like what your skin's been like basically your whole life.
So I have had psoriasis my entire life, and I don't remember ever having a time in my life where I didn't have spots somewhere. And I would have flares with various things, but always some kind of psoriasis on my body at all times. And
yeah, as long as I've known you. Yep.
And you know, it was kind of just, it was for the most part, aside from like flares, it was manageable. It was just more obnoxious, but manageable, I think.
And then we go to Florida, and you start a new medication. And just so you know, one of the hard things about this is that the likelihood is that we will never know for 100% what caused this, what triggered this, what started this. And in fact, that was something we were told early on in this journey, is that just so you know, you may never have complete answers. Right. And so we have a guess. We have a guess, and it's what the doctor thinks as well. So late November, you started a new medication when we were on vacation. Yep. And
I started a blood pressure med for a different related thing. And from what we can tell, and what we can guess, my body had an allergic reaction to it. And
again, like no way you could have known that. Like
no way, right? No way that we would have known my body would have reacted like that.
Nope.
And it started with tiny little bumps, like a rash on my forearm here. And it started when we were in Florida, which made me think that it was the water or it was the environment or whatever, because almost every time we travel, I have some kind of psoriasis reaction because my body doesn't like change. It doesn't like new water, it doesn't like new anything. So anytime we travel, I usually have some kind of flare-up.
So it wasn't, like, when we first saw the first rash, like, it was not concerning to us at all?
I honestly thought nothing of it. I was just like, we'll get back home, we'll get back into our water, and it's fine. Like, it'll go away.
Yep.
But we'd been home for a few days, and it was getting worse, in that the tiny little red bumps were growing and merging. So it was looking more like splotchy psoriasis. So
we have a photo I'll put up of Sherri's arm. This is of early December when it starts to spread. This is when it starts to look like more than just bad water.
Right, and we've been home for long enough that the different water should have been cleared up because we were back in our own water. And so I called a dermatologist through my insurance Teladoc and sent photos of everywhere on my body that was having this kind of rash reaction. At
this point, where was it covered? Like, where were the areas that you had it?
Like I said, it kind of started here, but it had spread to basically my whole forearm and kind of up the backs of my arms and my chest right here. And I had a little bit on my stomach as well.
Okay.
And so by the time I got there, I was just like, this is not great. It doesn't seem like it's going away. So I called the dermatologist. He put me on prednisone. And that's usually a 10-day thing. And about 3 or 4 days in, we figured out it was maybe this blood pressure medicine that was causing this. And so I stopped taking that and called the dermatologist back and sent more photos because it was continuing to get worse even on the prednisone. And I just said, I think I know what is causing this. I've stopped taking it now, but that sort of like had to reset the prednisone. So we kind of started it back over. So I was still on it, but he extended the taper. So it was a really slow taper to get me back off of it. So the taper I ended up being on prednisone for about a month.
The first time.
The first time. So from early December to early January.
So you're on prednisone. You've stopped taking the blood pressure medication, and then like what starts to happen pretty quickly?
So it was probably 2 or 3 days after, well, probably 3 days after I'd stopped taking the blood pressure medicine, that the prednisone seemed to start working. So the rash started to kind of go away. And by late December, by Christmas-ish, it was mostly confined to like the backs of my arms, a little bit here on my chest, my stomach, and just kind of like the tops of my legs. And
I will say, I noticed it wasn't even just the rash that was starting to clear up. A lot of those psoriasis spots you've always had.
Yeah, some that I've had for years that have just never, like, they just don't go away.
They started to clear up.
What medication I've been putting on them, even those were starting to clear up.
I remember a conversation we had near the end of December, and just like, this is the best your skin's ever looked.
In a long time,
You know, it's like, this is amazing. Like, what's going on? And so our hope was like, gosh, like, this is great. Knocked it out.
Yeah, so around New Year's, it was really mostly gone. And I think, so early January is when that prednisone ran out. And really before the prednisone ran out, I could tell, like here, especially on my chest, was starting to come back. Which I was not super happy about. And I just thought, well, I don't know, maybe it's something else. So, stopped the prednisone. And probably the day after or 2 days after I stopped the prednisone, it was like, it came back full force.
Flared back.
Flared really bad here on my neck, all the way back up on my arms and down my forearms and down my legs. Like it came back.
Did it look like, when it came back in January, was it like those random little bumps, or was it just like solid?
It was more solid. So it was pretty confined to like a spot kind of up my chin and kind of this part of my chest, and then like just the backs of my arms here. but it was pretty solid where it was.
And even, I remember you saying that it was different in January because in December, it didn't hurt. There wasn't a ton of pain, but it itched a lot.
It itched really bad.
But then in January...
In January, it was less itchy, I guess, but way more painful.
Way more painful. And way more solid.
And way more solid.
Yep.
And so when it was pretty, like, still pretty solid here on the backs of my arms and the forearms and my chest, we went into urgent care. And the doctor there he took biopsies. So I've got scars right here and right here on my arm. He took it half of, like, the rash and half normal skin.
Yep.
And we went back 1 week later, and in that week it had completely spread.
Yeah.
So that I was just solid. Like, there was no normal skin to be found. It had spread completely all over my chest, all the way down my arms, down my stomach, down my legs. And I remember we walked back in to the urgent care.
I don't want to get there real quick. I want to take a step back because initially I want to just kind of, like, as people know what we thought it might be along the way.
Oh yeah.
So the first time we go to urgent care, they take the biopsies. One of the thoughts is that it could be a type of staph infection. Right? So one of the things they told us is that they had another patient who'd been dealing with something that at the time looked similar.
Right.
And so they thought this could be a type of staph infection. Now at this point we have no clue what's going on. Right? We have no, like, it's been us and Google, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
And so we thought...
And we're about a month and a half into this at this point.
Exactly right. But while we were in there with the doctor the first time, he also asked, he said, you know, we have a dermatologist that we work with. Would you mind if I take some photos and send them to her as well?
Right.
And we're just like, oh, send them to anybody.
Yep.
Post them on Reddit.
Anybody that can help.
Like, at this point, don't care. Tweet them out,
right.
doc.
And at this point, like, so it's solid, but it's not... So the first time I went into urgent care, it was not over my entire body. It was pretty solid, but it was really confined to, like, these spots.
Yep. And we do have some photos. I want to show you guys. These are some photos of, or at least one photo of what it looked like when it started to come back. So we'll put that up right here. This is what it looked like when it started to come back, when we realized, oh gosh, this is actually before the urgent care.
Yep.
And so this is when we noticed it's coming back. Then we go into the urgent care, get the 2 biopsies done.
Yep. And so I, at this point, they don't really know. We're waiting for biopsy results. And so we go back 1 week later, and it had spread enough that the doctor there was just like, I don't know what to do with you. I don't know how to help you. As soon
as he walked in the room, he looked at Sherri.
And you could see his face fall.
You could see his face fall.
I don't know what this is. I don't know why this is so much worse in a week, because he had put me on different medications.
Yeah, he put you on an
antibiotic.
And
he put me back on prednisone, and he didn't know. He just didn't know. And so he said, I can't help you anymore. We're gonna send you to this dermatologist that I've been conversing with.
Yep. And so the prednisone, which cleared it up in December, you go back on in January, and it seemingly has no impact.
Right, because I'm continuing to just get worse and worse and worse. And so the week after that, we go to the dermatologist, and she looks me over everywhere, and she's like, we got the results back from biopsy, and they had a bunch of blood work taken and stuff, and she was like, honestly, it's inconclusive. Like, we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know, but we're gonna keep looking until we find it. We're gonna figure this out. And so she put me on a few other different things to try to, like, manage. And so we went back a week later after that, and again, we walked in, and it had spread enough, and so we're now, so this is early February.
February.
The first week in February at this point. And she walked in, and she was like, I've reached the end of what I know. She said, I think this is systemic. This is not skin. I deal with skin. I can fix skin. This is not just skin. It's manifesting on your skin, but we can throw things at it, but it's not going to touch it because it's not what's actually causing it.
Yeah. One of the things I want to just say real quick that I really appreciate that happened in this whole process is the doctors we saw tried what they knew, but then were very quick to recognize, this is beyond me, and I want to get you to somebody who could possibly help.
Right.
And so when Sherri and I talked about this a lot, that we were really glad that they weren't like, well, let's just test it. Let's take 3 weeks and test a bunch of stuff.
You're right. Let's try this.
Let's try this. You know, and so it was very like, we felt really good that we had people who admitted that something was wrong, but what was wrong was beyond them.
Right.
And like, let's get you to that.
Yep.
And so that was a good thing, I think.
Yeah, so late January, early February was kind of this waiting period to just, like, does the dermatologist know what is happening? It's continuing to spread. It spread onto my face, and was kind of everywhere on my body. Then still splotchy-ish, but solid. It would continue to get worse.
At this point, the leading thing in our mind as far as what it was something called mast cell activation disorder, or mast cell activation syndrome. We had talked to the original doctor about that, and he was like, I mean, it certainly could be, right? It certainly could be. We talked to the dermatologist about it, and kind of she said as well, it certainly could be.
It could be.
We didn't know that it was. More tests were needed. I will say this is about the time, for those of you guys, we've talked about this in one of our vlogs, and it's sort of, in my mind, like miracle territory. This is the time, because we put it out on our channel, that one of you, our LeggLife viewers, who is actually a dermatologist in another country, reached out and said, hey, like, would you mind if I saw some photos of what this is and like biopsies? Like, would you feel comfortable sending me Sherri's info?
She said, I have a team of people, we can take a look and we can try to help.
And so we did that. Like, again, help anywhere. And she sends me back, because I was messaging her privately on Facebook. And she sends me back this diagnosis, or her thought. She's like, I want you to, it could be, and I want you to ask your doctor. Here's why I think it could be. She sent me images, like all of this information. And I'm looking through it, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And it was the first time that I knew how serious this was. And there's a lot of stuff, and we'll talk a little more of this, that I didn't bring Sherri in on, because she, like, you guys, she had enough on her plate. Like, just like keeping her going day to day was hard enough.
Right.
And so the doctor said, or our viewer, our dermatologist said, I want you to ask the doctor if it could be this, because if it is, like, there's a chance, like, there's a high likelihood that Sherri may need to be hospitalized, and here's why, and here's all the reasons, right? So that was the first time in a Facebook message I had ever heard the term exfoliative erythroderma.
Right.
It had never even been on our radar.
Yep.
And so I'm just kind of like, okay, but in some ways, like, it got pushed to the side a little bit until we could talk to this new doctor.
Yep.
That we were going to.
Yep. And so, and as things work out, this doctor was on vacation. And so she wasn't even in the state for 2 more weeks. Yep. So it was 2 weeks of me just trying to get by until I could get in to see her.
Yep. And one of the reasons that this doctor was recommended to us by our dermatologist is apparently there's only a couple rheumatologists in the entire state of Alaska, and it's like 9 months to get in. But this doctor we were recommended to studied rheumatology, studied with rheumatologists, so had like an understanding of that world, but practiced like internal medicine. And this dermatologist just said, like, I really think that she's like,
really smart, and she kind of just like knows everything, and she can probably help you.
Yeah, and so we're like, great.
We're like, okay.
But she's on vacation.
Ugh. So, which I can't fault. I mean,
no, of course not. Thank goodness.
Everybody needs a vacation.
100%.
I totally get it. And so we just had to wait until she was back in town, and
but like, she was very, like, gracious with getting you in, because initially
they couldn't get me in until the first week of May.
And this was in February.
Or first week of April.
First week of April.
Yeah.
This is in February, and I remember when we heard that.
I hung up the phone because I had called their office to see if they could get me in, and they said, she's on vacation right now, she gets back this date, but she's booked up, you should give us a call back late March, and we can see what we can do. And I hung up the phone and I cried. Yep. Like, I cried because I was in so much pain, and I was so mentally and physically and emotionally exhausted, and I could not fathom having to deal with this for 6 more weeks until she could fit me in. So
let's talk a little bit about what it was like for you in the middle of that time, because about this point is when we're approaching like the worst. Right? This is like at the worst of everything. Were you sleeping? Where were you sleeping? Tell me about that.
I was not sleeping.
Like, at all?
Right. Minutes here and there. I had moved myself out to a recliner because laying down and then sitting back up was excruciating.
Yeah. There was one morning, and I tried to be here, obviously, to do everything that I could. But there was one day that I had meetings. Like, literally one day that I had meetings that I couldn't cancel. And that was
one of the worst days I'd ever had.
And that was one of the worst days Sherri ever had. And she had to, like, get herself out of bed. And I came home, and she was just, like, in tears at simply sitting up from laying down.
Yep.
And so that was, like, the last night in bed for a couple of months.
Yeah, I didn't move back into our bed until early April. And so it was the recliner. And it was, let's talk about a little bit about the routine, because again, we really want this video to be helpful for somebody who's going through this. Yep.
So, like, what the heck were we doing to keep you alive?
Yep. So we really that last morning that I was in the bed trying to sit up, and literally screaming in pain, just trying to sit up. That was kind of like, that was, for me, I was like, I have to do something different because what I'm doing is not working.
Yep.
I wasn't sleeping, and I was getting up every few hours to put lotion on, because it was just drying out so quickly. At that point, I was just like, I can't just go a few hours and see how it goes and, like, put lotion on when I feel like I need it. I cannot let this dry out because it was the worst pain I've ever been in my life.
Yeah, and so essentially what we did, and we tried, even leading up to this, you guys, because so many of you guys message us things like, try this, try that, which we're grateful for. Thank you. You guys were genuinely trying to help.
We tried hundreds of lotions.
You guys, we spent hundreds of dollars, not even exaggerate, hundreds of dollars buying everything. We bought from aloe to Vaseline to CeraVe to Aqua whatever to, like, I mean, it is comical the amount of, like, half-used and quarter-used bottles of lotions we have, and some of the stuff, like, just honestly felt like it did nothing. Like, nothing. And then we did find the CeraVe, which you guys know, is the one thing that felt like it brought no relief. There was no difference in the pain or the itch, but
it helped keep it moisturized longer than some of these other lotions that we've been trying.
Yeah, which for us was like, that was a win, right? And so we realized that if we, and I'll show you, we were going through one of these a day. One of these a day.
Every day.
And so we were covering, remember, because at this point it's covering from, let me actually show you.
This is where it's going to get really bad.
The photos now are going to start to get bad. And so skip ahead, I guess.
This is mid-February.
This is mid-February.
Before the doctor's appointment.
Yep, before the doctor's appointment. Now, for the most part, this stayed from, like, the neckline kind of down.
Yeah, and I don't know why. So in December, it had really just been, like, here and kind of stuck to, like, the handprint on my chin here and then down, all the way down to my feet. In February, it covered my face for a brief amount of time, but really, that really only stayed around for a couple of days, and then it cleared up on my face. And there was, like, a literal line from my jaw down, and then a line at my knee.
It was crazy.
And I don't know why. I don't know why, for whatever reason, this time it decided not to really attack my face or my lower legs and feet.
So there's one photo we'll show, and we just, we went through all these photos together earlier, like, checked, double checked, triple checked, like, do you want to show these?
Not really, but I think people need to see.
This photo is the one time that it went to Sherri's face, and the thing that, like, this is an emotional photo for me because it's not even the skin, like, it's just your eyes, like the pain that Sherri has. So this is what it looked like the one time when it spread to her face, and we're really thankful that the face cleared up as quickly as it did. But obviously that was, yeah. And
I would get spots here and there on my face, kind of throughout, but again, they would just stay for a couple of days and then they'd go away, and I don't know why.
No idea why.
Because I was doing the same thing on the rest of my body, and it just didn't. So Yeah, so mid-February, it was just this line on my jaw and then all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
Solid.
Yep.
And so what we started to do is we set our alarms, both of us, for every 4 hours.
Yep.
And
it was less than 4 hours.
There were a few times that it was less than 4 hours,
yeah.
because of just, it felt like how quickly it was drying out. Like 4 hours was too long, because it was too dry within that time. So
yeah.
there were a few times that we would just be like, okay, well, we're gonna come back in 2 hours.
And the thing to remember,
and this was 24 hours a day. This wasn't like, you know, 9 to 5 and then it's fine, or even 9 to 9, like,
nope.
And then you go to bed. And no, this was 24 hours a day, every 2 to 3 to 4 hours that we would set our alarms, and we'd get up and lotion my entire body, and try to get whatever sleep we could, and then get back up and lotion my entire body.
Yeah, and it was so crazy because it was like the body was absorbing this so fast that you'd think covering your whole body in a moisturizing lotion, like eventually it just like soaks in enough and the skin's moisturized and good to go. And it was like the skin was turning over so much, and you were experiencing a lot of like peeling of skin as well.
Sloughing. A
lot of sloughing. That was happening a lot. So it was red, it was painful, it was itchy, it was also peeling like a sunburn. That's one of the reasons, like in a lot of our earlier vlogs in this, one of the best ways we could describe it was like, it's almost like a really bad sunburn.
A body-sized sunburn.
Yeah, yep. Like just like the worst one you could imagine.
Mm-hmm. And we can put some pictures up here of what it really looked like when it was just peeling.
Is this at its worst?
Yes.
Okay, so these photos are photos that went to insurance. And these are some photos that, again, these are the worst of what it gets. And this shows the redness, this shows the peeling, this shows like what Sherri was, this is what life was like for weeks.
Mm-hmm. For all of February. Really.
All of February was like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So these pictures we actually took the day we went to the doctor.
Yep,
and actually got the diagnosis. Yep,
so let's talk a little bit about that. That's kind of where we left off. So we go into this new doctor, and I remember driving to this new doctor's office.
We had packed a hospital bag.
We had packed a hospital bag because we knew that this was serious. There was a good chance she would be admitted to the hospital, and we wanted to be very prepared if that was to happen. So we packed a hospital bag, not knowing what that day would hold. And we get there, and I remember the only word I can think of on the drive there that morning was like desperation.
Yeah.
Like, please God, like
anything that will help me, please.
Anything.
Just anything.
Like something, something.
Please let this doctor know what is wrong with me.
And so the doctor walks in, and she's a Russian doctor. She's very straight to the point. And she walks into the room, and she sits down, looks at Sherri.
She had me lift up my sleeve,
yep.
And then she had me kind of lift up the front and back of my shirt.
Yep.
And she was in the room for less than 5 minutes.
Yep, she rolled over to her computer. She pulled out the little keyboard.
She said, "This is what this is. It's life-threatening, and we're gonna fix you."
Yeah, and she said it's exfoliative erythroderma, and I instantly thought of the Facebook message, man. Yeah, I thought of the Facebook message.
Yeah. And some of it was like relief that, okay, so there are now these two very smart women who have said this is what this is. And so some of it was just like, we have a path forward. Like, it might be a long path, and it has been, but we have a path, and that was really just what we were praying for and hoping for, was just give me a direction to go that will eventually lead me to better, because this is not sustainable for me.
Well, honestly, I think that's where the emotion comes in for me, is that we talked about this in a previous video. We walked into that appointment with 3 things in my phone. Mm-hmm. There were 3 things that we thought it could be, and we wanted to know. Mast cell activation syndrome was the thing we didn't want it to be. It was the hardest road ahead. The second one was like a histamine intolerance, something in that area. It was something we were just starting to explore. Mm-hmm. And the third one was exfoliative erythroderma. Mm-hmm. And I knew that exfoliative erythroderma was not easy. It was painful. It was life-threatening. I knew the road would be hard, but I also knew that it was something that could be dealt with. And so like when she said that, it was just, in some ways, it was like a breath. It was like, oh, that's it. Like, and I don't know how to explain this, but like, I didn't question that.
I think at this point we were just so desperate for any answer at all that, you know, and again, like this is the end of February, this is February 25th. So I've been dealing with this from the beginning of December. And so we're 3 months into the worst pain I've ever been in my life. And I was, you know, we were talking about this earlier, kind of points we want to touch on. And for me, like there's huge chunks of time that I don't remember. I don't. And part of that was, for me, it wasn't just like I just need to get through this day. It was I need to get through this minute. I can focus on 1 minute. I can get through this one 60-second block, and then we'll attack the next one. And that was really mentally where I was at. The thought of having to even get through the day was too much for me. I can't do this for this many hours. Let me focus on the 60-second block.
I can get through the next minute, and then I'll think about the next minute.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so a lot of the time in there, and again, it's really hard when you have a YouTube channel and you share your life, but that's happening, right? That's why Sherri wasn't in the vlogs, right? It's like
because I looked like that, and I was not, well, I was in too much pain to pretend that I was okay. And not that I expected anybody in our audience to expect me to be okay.
Totally.
But I think that there is, I don't know. I mean, there were days where the only time I talked was when I was crying. Because I can't do this. How am I going to get through this? I cannot do this. So we get a diagnosis, and I shared this in the vlog, and these are words that will stick with me for the rest of my life. The doctor, you know, on her little wheelie chair in front of us, explains what this is, and she says, this is a reaction, not a disease, and we can treat a reaction. And it was just like, oh, okay. Like, okay. And so then she just like instantly jumps into like the plan, right? Instantly jumps into the plan. Like, here's this. And so she starts talking about like injections and why she thinks this one would work. And there were a couple they were looking at. One was called, I think, Concentrics. One was called Taltz. She chose Taltz for Sherri. And we're talking, and honestly, like, it's just like chaos. I don't remember anything else from this.
It was really funny because like we left the doctor's appointment and like I could tell Sherri didn't hear a thing. And so, you know, the doctor was very clear about like this being life-threatening. Like that this is a serious thing. This is not,
and I think we need to touch on why. Like, what about it is life-threatening.
Totally.
In all of the medical journals and doctor speak that I could read through, what I came away with was what makes exfoliative erythroderma life-threatening is the risk of pneumonia, the risk of...
Is that because of the inability to regulate body temperature?
I think so.
So we didn't talk about that. Can we touch on that real quick?
Let's talk about I'm still dealing with this. This has not gone away yet.
Yeah.
It's gotten better. My body could not regulate itself in the midst of all of this. So the skin itself would be burning.
Yeah.
Extremely hot to the touch, and under a blanket, I just felt like I was in a sauna. Like it was so hot. But my inner body thought that it was freezing cold. And so I would literally be sitting in my chair, shaking, like, shivering, and teeth chattering, shivering, and burning up.
Yeah, Sherri.
Like I couldn't be under. Like I was literally like blanket on, blanket on, blanket on, blanket off, because like I was so cold, that I had to be under a blanket. But then under the blanket, it was so hot that I was just like, what do I do? How do I fix this? Because I am miserable.
I remember one time you told me that it felt like at the same time you were freezing to death and burning to death. But it's like at the exact same time you felt like both of those things were happening.
I had hypothermia and I was also literally on fire. Like it at the same time. And I was just like, how is this happening? And how do I make it stop? And so that was a big.
When did that start? Do you remember?
I feel like that started late January.
Okay.
It was before I had just moved out of the bed.
The bed, yep.
Because I had tried different blankets. So we have like a big comforter on our bed, and I had done away with that, and I was using like a lighter blanket because it was too hot under my comforter, but I had to have some kind of something because I was too cold without any blanket at all. Mm-hmm. So I tried a gamut of different blankets.
Yep. So pneumonia is one of the main things because of that issue.
Yes.
Okay.
Because your body literally thinks it's in like a hypothermic, it's freezing. Yeah. Which is dumb. And so there was that, and then infection, because of my skin was turning over and peeling so quickly and drying out so quickly. And this was part of the reason why laying down and then trying to sit back up was impossible. Any movement really and my skin would tear.
Yep.
I had lacerations really everywhere on my body.
Like hundreds of them. Yeah.
And because my skin would just rip. And so all the way up my spine, anytime, like any movement of like moving my back it just caused these tears up here on my arms and the backs of my arms here, all the way down the back of my leg. Kind of anywhere that my skin like moves in any kind of movement, it would just tear.
Yep. Which, once skin tears, your body's largest organ, like you run the risk of infection. Like not just one tear, but again, hundreds of them.
Hundreds of them over my body.
Yep.
That are just, it's just torn.
Yep. Now let's talk a little bit about the skin, the infection, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Because there are some things that we tried that we thought would help the skin that ended up probably hurting it and drying it out more.
Yes.
So one of the things that you hear a lot are like oatmeal baths, right? Oh, do oatmeal baths.
Right.
So we did oatmeal baths.
So I tried that.
And throughout your life, you had done those.
I've done those here and there. And they do sort of tend to help with, like if I have a psoriasis flare.
Yep.
They would kind of calm it down. And so we actually had some on hand because I had done them before. So I started doing an oatmeal bath every night. And I did that 5 nights in a row. And
it felt like it got really bad. It felt like it was making it the worst that it had ever been.
So the day that I last slept in the bed, I had taken an oatmeal bath the night before. And that was, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like it's just drying me out too much.
Yep.
And so at that point I started only showering, and really I barely wash. Like I would wash my hair not in the shower, just kind of like leaning over a sink, and I was in the shower for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And cool lukewarm water.
Yep.
So not hot, not cold.
And you were showering how often?
Me once a week.
So, and the reason for that is that, you know, when you take a bath, you take a shower, it strips away your body's natural oils and can dry out your skin. That's what was happening with Sherri, and so she's in these baths, and it is just absolutely, she's just gets out dry as like a bone, and the skin's horrible.
Right. So our bathtub is downstairs in our house, and our bedroom is upstairs, and so I would take a bath downstairs. I would towel dry, and before I got halfway up the stairs, I was so dry that I could feel my skin ripping.
Yep.
As I'm going up the stairs to put lotion on.
Yep.
It dried out just.
Yeah.
Instantly.
So like as soon as we realized like baths and like frequent showers are not good for this. Like
this is not working.
In some ways, like we need to keep the skin moisturized, and like we need those natural oils.
Yep.
Like,
so I started showering once a week, and like I said, for 5 minutes or less, like I would literally just like and then done.
Yeah.
And I would wash my hair in the sink a couple of times a week because my hair needed more.
Yep.
But yeah, like it was, the oatmeal baths were the worst thing for it, I think.
I think so too. I feel like that was really when it started to ramp up and get really bad.
Yep.
So that's kind of the skin issues, the tearing, what leads to the infection. And then the third thing that kind of leads to potential death with this.
Heart failure.
Yep. which was the one that we didn't really know of.
We didn't really know of until we started kind of digging in. And from what I can understand, it is basically because your skin is turning over so quickly, the blood vessels in and near your skin are working really, really hard, which makes your heart work harder to get blood to those areas that are like freaking out and turning over everything really quickly, and it can cause heart failure.
Yep. So we hear at that, you know, again, we hear, you know, life-threatening from the doctor at that first meeting. Something that I had already known for a while. Again, tried to tell Sherri as little as possible.
Did not tell me that.
No, 100% I didn't, right. Because like...
Which I appreciate.
Yeah, you...
Because like I said, it was a minute-by-minute thing for me, and I think that for me, if I had known really how serious it was,
yep.
I don't know if I would have kept fighting.
Yeah, well, especially because like...
I mean,
it's
honestly.
It's a minute-by-minute thing, but it's also the kind of thing, it's like there's no answers, no relief. There's literally nothing we can do to get this better.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, now it's life-threatening. Oh, also still no relief.
Yep.
Yeah, and so I was like, let's not tell Sherri this for as long as possible. Let's do everything we possibly can to keep doing what's working. And so again, like setting every alarm for 2, 3, 4 hours, keep it moisturized.
Yep.
Keep Sherri drinking a crap ton of water, do that, all the kind of stuff.
So much water.
So much water.
And you know, again, like part of it was like I was super thirsty because my body was just like going through the water so quickly. So it helped that I was actually thirsty because I'm usually terrible about drinking water. But this was just like, I need all the water. Bring me all the water. I think at one point I had 6 water bottles in just the living room, and I kept them all right next to me because I was going through the water so quickly that having 1 or 2 was just like, I'm still getting up constantly, and movement was not great for me.
Yeah,
so
one of the things...
6 water bottles, fill them all up.
One of the things at the end of this vlog, or near the end of this vlog, that we'll do is kind of let you know the things that, in the event that you think this may be what you have, or somebody you love may have, some things that we would recommend doing until you know, that honestly, looking back on it, really, really helped a lot, unknowingly, right?
Right.
So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but we leave the doctor's office, we leave with these injectors of Taltz,
and a whole
list of prescriptions.
Prescriptions.
A whole cocktail of pharmaceuticals. And so that night, Sherri, we do the first 2 injections. Our friend Desi comes over, and we do the first 2 injections. And how soon after the doctor's appointment did you notice a turn?
So that was Thursday night, the 25th.
Of February.
Of February. And by Friday night, it had... in fact, Thursday night, probably an hour or 2 after the injections, my skin was peeling in like sheets, like just peeling. It was disgusting, and we so I thank him for standing there and peeling this skin off of me. And I mean, literally, like I could just sit and kind of go like this, and like an entire layer of skin would just go away. And so by Friday night, so that was really a couple hours after the injections on Thursday night that it really started to do that. All day Friday, it was just peeling. We were still doing the lotion every 4 hours. And usually at about hour 2, I would have to go in and just peel. Like it was just coming off. And yeah, so I think really Friday night, by Saturday, it was so much better that I was like, I think I can make it through this. I think
this was the first time since January, when it had come back, that we had any hope. Like that we had any, or that we had seen any turn of a situation, that things had gotten better. Because the prednisone the second time hadn't worked. The antibiotics the original doctor put us on hadn't worked. The creams that they'd given us hadn't worked. The other prescriptions they'd put you on hadn't worked. Like nothing was even like, it felt like nothing was touching this.
Nothing was touching, like it just continued to get worse.
And then all of a sudden,
So I do 2 injections. I started, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but she put me on several different things.
Yep.
And so I started all of those on that one day, and I think that my body at that point was just like, in so much relief that there was something that was helping, that within 48 hours, it was just like, we're just really gonna like start to get better. That was the biggest 48 hours for me as far as improvement.
Yep.
But like the rest of, so I mean, now we're 2 months past.
Yep. So you're still not. Let's talk a little about that, because you're still not better, and we wanted to make this video when you weren't totally better.
Right.
Why though? Because for me, I was like, do you want to wait till the summer, get till you're totally through it?
Some of it for me, it's a long process, and I think that I think it's good for people to know that, especially if you're going through it. I am now 2 months past starting these injections, being on all of these different medications, and it's still not gone. I don't know, it's still a little bit here on my chest, it's still a little bit here on my arms, it's still quite a bit on my legs, and it's not gone yet. It's certainly better than it was.
Way better. Infinitely
better than it was.
Yeah.
But it's not gone. This is still a process, and I think I wanted to make this video now, just kind of showing like there is improvement, but I'm not through it yet. They said 8 to 12 weeks for recovery. And so we're at the 8-week, about 9-week mark, and it's going to be definitely closer to that 12-week, maybe even beyond that before it's gone. Which
does make sense, because I mean, as you saw on those photos, like Sherri's was a really bad version of this. Like it was bad.
It was bad.
And so I'm not surprised it would be 12 or more weeks.
Yeah.
All right, Sherri. So a couple months in, injections, you're getting a lot better. Let's start to talk a little bit now about some of the things that, if somebody is dealing with these issues, again, here's the thing that we learned through this. There were 100 things this could have been, right? There's 100 things this could have been.
Yep.
We were very fortunate to find out the one thing that it was.
Or at least the one thing that they think it is, and have some kind of medication that can treat it.
Exactly.
I'm responding to.
And so for us, like when we started looking for relief, we were trying anything. Right? And so like, I know that there may be somebody watching who's in that place. Like you're watching this in like a moment of desperation. You're like, help me. Like I'll try anything. So we're going to tell you the things that worked for Sherri. And I would say that there's no guarantee these work for everybody, but it's what worked for us.
Yeah. In fact, I do want to say, even the CeraVe, the first time I tried it, I felt like it didn't do a lot.
Yep.
I went through an entire container of it before, and then I was just like, this isn't really doing anything, so we moved on to other things, and we tried other things. And I was just like, let's try it again. You know, this is really what the dermatologist is recommending, so let's try it again. And I feel like that's kind of when and again, like, it didn't bring relief. It didn't make me feel better. It didn't really stop the itch or the pain. It moisturized me longer than the rest of the other lotions that we've been trying.
Yeah, and that's
the other lotions were half an hour to an hour and having to reapply. This was 2 or 3 or 4 hours. That was really the only thing that I was just like, okay, we're just gonna stick with this.
Yep.
So really, I think the lotion and setting that timer, just not letting my body get too dry. And there were a few times that 4-hour timer was too long. And so, you know, we're just like, okay, let's move it to 3 and see how it is. Oh, let's move it to 2 and see how it goes.
And the reality is like, does that suck? Yeah.
It sure does.
It sure does. And you get no sleep for weeks. But here's the thing. And in some ways, I'm glad that I knew how serious this was early on, because all of a sudden, that's not an inconvenience. Like, you know what I mean?
And again, I didn't know any of this, so it's just an inconvenience to me, and I was just like, but this is the only thing that is helping me at all.
Yeah. And so
I'm gonna keep doing this.
Yeah, and so like, I would say that keep the skin moisturized. Like, that was one of the biggest things. Like, if it had been every 1 hour, we would have been up every 1 hour. You know what I mean? Like we would have figured that out. And so, yeah, for sure, keeping it moisturized. But that also goes to like all of the water you drink.
All of the waters.
Like just constantly drinking water.
And I honestly, I didn't even keep track because I would go through those 6 bottles and we'd refill, and I didn't keep track of like how much water I was drinking, but it was so much. Like I was constantly drinking water, which I have to think helped.
Totally.
Not keep me dry.
Yep.
So water.
Yep.
Don't let it dry out.
Yep.
Just keep whatever, and find a lotion that works for you.
That's right.
I think everybody's different. This is what ended up working for me, but like I said, the first time I tried it, I don't feel like it did a lot. Yep. So find something. Just keep trying until you find something.
Yep. Also, you were talking about the shower thing. Like one thing that worked for you were like wipes. Like baby wipes, right? It's like because
I couldn't shower
more
than once a week, and so our Desi, our nurse friend, was just like, just go get like
baby wipes.
Baby wipes, really, and just wipe yourself down and freshen yourself up as you feel the need. And I mean, part of it was just like keep all those cuts clean, which is hard to do if you're only showering once a week. So, that was a big part of it. So I would put lotion on. I would wipe myself down. I would put lotion on, and then put Vaseline on the cuts.
Yep. And then putting lotion on. Obviously, I tried to help you as much as possible, but there were some times that I just couldn't be home, and so we had to figure out like, okay.
And I mean, honestly, a couple of times where your alarm would go off and you didn't get up.
It's true.
And I wasn't going to be like, hey.
I wish you would have been like, hey.
I needed you to also be able to get some sleep. Like, in addition to taking care of me and also not sleeping at all, he was taking care of the house. He was doing all the grocery shopping. He was doing all the cooking. He was actually taking care of me. He was doing all of this on as little sleep as I was getting as well, and all I was doing was sitting there. And so there were a few times that I would hear his alarm go off and he wouldn't get up, and I was just like, I'm gonna let him sleep because he needs to sleep.
I wish you would have woken me up. I will say that. I wish you would not have let me sleep.
And you like were just like, why didn't you wake me up last time?
And so what I did, because I was so pissed that she didn't wake me up, I was like, well, I'm going to find you something. And so I went on Amazon and I started my research. I'm like, there's got to be something to help you apply lotion when like you can't reach everywhere.
Because it was everywhere, and there's spots on my back. Like I'm pretty flexible, but I can't reach every spot.
And so I go online and I find this thing, and I thought it was a gimmick at first. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was a gimmick at first, and it looks like one of those like back washing loofahs, but it's made with a different material. And here's the thing:
like foam.
Here's what. I'm not going to use an affiliate link on this because I don't want to make money off of this video. This video is to help people. So I'm not going to link to this. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll link to it, but it's not an affiliate code. I'm just going to use a normal Amazon link. Just go buy this. But it's made with a different kind of foam that doesn't absorb the lotion.
So you can put the lotion on it, and it doesn't slide off. It doesn't fall off. It sticks there. And then you can just use it like a lotion on.
When it came in the mail, you and I were both like, this is not going to work.
This is not going to work.
And
it totally worked.
We were shocked.
And I will say this comes off and you can replace this part. This is the one that it came with.
And I ordered like 12 extra because I was like, we're certainly going to go through a bunch of them.
So it came with this one and 3 others, so it came with 4. And then you bought a pack of 4 more just because we were just like, we don't know how quickly we're going to go through this. Like, we don't want to have to be buying this every other day. I would just wash this with soap and water, and it's still the same one. Like, it's still in perfect condition. It's like, I don't know why it even came with 3 extras, because when would you ever need that many? And again, I'm putting lotion on every 4 hours, if not more often, daily. And so, like, this is getting used, and I would just wash it with soap and water, and it's been fine.
So those are some of the products that kind of like helped get through this.
Yep.
Do you have any other thoughts as far as like here's what I would say. From somebody who went through this but didn't I didn't have exfoliative erythroderma like my wife did. So kind of going through this with her. I would say don't be really persistent in getting answers. If you don't feel like the person you're working with is things are progressing, you're getting the answers, or like you're miserable, like ask for what you need.
A referral to somebody else.
Yeah, like pursue this, because the thing is like I said earlier, there's 100 things this could have been, and we could have spent months and months and months like pursuing rabbit holes, trying to find, checking, doing this, try this, let's test this. I don't know that Sherri would have made it months and months. And so for me,
I honestly don't.
Yeah, I don't either. Mm-mm. And so for me, like, be persistent, because like this is serious. This is a real thing.
Right. I mean, not only is it like actually life-threatening because of these different things we've mentioned, but it's completely miserable.
And like the mental health toll of something like that is a real thing.
Yeah.
And so I would just say, like, be persistent and pursue this. Don't wait. Like, this is one of those like proactive, like life is on the line, we're going hard after this kind of things.
Right.
And so put lotion on, keep it moisturized, keep it clean, but remember,
keep tracking down doctors.
That's what I was gonna say, but remember, those things are just like trying to make your misery 1% less until you get answers.
Right.
And the answers came through, thank God, doctors. And that's one of the other things I would say is we were really fortunate that, and I'm really glad, because you reached out to people we know, people like Sarah, people like Desi, who are great with this stuff. Mm-hmm. And like, you had a million questions and you asked them.
Yeah.
Like, you asked a lot of questions.
I did.
And
mm-hmm.
So
and I sent pictures, and I was just like, Desi would come over and just be like, what does this mean? Like, please help.
Yeah.
You know? And sending pictures to Sarah, like, please help. Like, do you have any suggestions? Do you have, like, I trust you as a very smart doctor, you know, like, just please help.
Please help me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, pursue this. Like, this is your health. This is a mm-hmm. big deal. And so go hard after the answers for you. I genuinely cannot imagine having this continue for months and months with no answers.
No, and I think that if you are in even just kind of the beginning stages, if you're having some kind of allergic reaction to something, take a list of things you think it might be to your doctor.
Yeah.
I think that's important too. Like, don't go down the rabbit trail of WebMD, I think, which is just not great. But I think that if you have, a general idea of what this could be, like mast cell, like exfoliative erythroderma, if, it's something, take these to your doctor and just say,
could it be this?
Could it be any of these? Can we explore these avenues and see if it might be something, and try to catch it early. I feel like if we had been able to catch it earlier, I wouldn't have gotten to as bad as I got. Mm-hmm. On the flip side of that, I also don't know that I would have been eligible for the injections that I'm on.
It's true.
And I think that's something, certainly don't let it get really bad so that you can be eligible. I think that there are other things out there that can help, but I would just say try to catch it early if you can, before it gets really, really bad, because it was really, really bad. Yeah,
and I think that's one of the things that was, for us, every appointment we went into, we had like a list of, could it be, and a list of questions. And on one hand, like I'm not a doctor, right? I'm a dude with Google, and the reality is like they went to medical school. Like, right. God bless them for like the way that they serve and the way that they care, and they do this because like they love this, right? And so like they have a knowledge level that I don't have, and most of us don't have.
And Google doesn't have.
Right? And Google doesn't have. So on one hand, like we were trying to balance, like I don't want to be that guy that's like, hey, I Googled and here's 50 things. And so we really tried to go in. Like I said, we went into the final doctor, we had 3.
We had those 3 things that we wanted to talk with her about.
And even if it was just crossing those 3 off the list.
But we also had a list of questions for her.
Yep, totally.
Even if she couldn't help us with a diagnosis, yeah. Is there something that you think could help? Is there a lotion? Is there a medication? Is there
a cream? Is there
anything that you think might help until we can get an answer?
Yep. So
we had this whole list of questions for her, and she allowed us to ask them.
Which was great.
Great.
Totally.
But that was after she had, really, like I said, she was in the room for 5 minutes, and she was like, this is what it is.
It was amazing.
Now let's chat.
Yep. So that is that's the whole journey.
Yeah.
Sherri Beth.
It's not over yet.
And it's not, I was going to say, it's not over yet. That's the whole journey up to this point.
It's up to this point.
So again, the goal of this video is if you're somebody who might be wondering what the heck's going on with your skin, our hope is that the photos may have helped. Our hope is that hearing Sherri's story, you may say, you know what, that sounds really similar to mine. Maybe it could be this. So that when you go to your doctor, you could say, you know, could it be this?
Right.
That's really the whole goal.
That's really, yeah, just the goal is try to help people, and whether you have this diagnosis or not, maybe there's practices that we did, like the lotion, and the not bathing often, and water, that could help with similar things. You know, if this hadn't been exfoliative erythroderma, it could have been anything else that, I mean, I looked similar to a lot of other things, and so I feel like those things are going to help regardless. Yeah.
I'm proud of you for sharing this.
Thank you.
No, it was not easy. We talked about this a lot.
Yeah. And I just, for a while, I was kind of going back and forth. Do I want to talk about it at all? And so it's like, I think I should, and so let's make a video about it. And then it's like, but I'm not going to show photos because nobody wants to see that. That's terrible. And then I got to thinking about it, and I feel like if we had seen photos early on and a link of what this could be, I don't know if we could have caught it earlier. I don't know.
Here's the thing. I would have done anything if it would have saved us a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just the reality. Like, as bad as it was at its worst, I would have done anything if it would have saved a day. And so if this helps one person get an answer one day earlier and get relief one day earlier, 100% worth it. So, so you guys, comments down below are open. I don't know a lot of what we will be able to help with. If you have questions, please ask.
We are not doctors.
We're not doctors.
Neither one of us have a college degree.
Nope. Nope. But we got...
Be real clear.
Here's the thing. But we got a lot of great doctors around us. Thank God.
Yes, we have quite a few incredible medical people around
Jeez
us.
Louise, what a lifesaver.
I think that's another tip. All of these things, but also, like,
if you're making friends,
if your best friend is also a nurse, like, bonus.
Yeah. Make friends with doctors and nurses, because, like, they will help you when life falls apart.
Right.
So, you guys, thanks for watching. We love you. We know that this video is very different than anything we've ever done on our channel. But
we appreciate you sticking through all of this. Not just this video, but this whole journey, because for a long time it was just him, and he was also, in addition to not sleeping and taking care of the house and the groceries and me and
and jobs.
That, and he actually has jobs, multiple jobs. He was also running our YouTube channel and continuing to upload.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how you did it, because literally all I could do was sit in the chair upstairs and try not to die.
Well, my body wasn't trying to kill me. Well, so there is that. When you really weigh those things, I mean, friends, we do love you guys. And Sherri's exactly right. You guys have been such an unbelievable encouragement to us. I mean, you guys have sent us literally dozens of these. We don't need more, just so you know. Like, we have a whole bunch. We're still pretty good.
And it's taking me about 3 days to get through one of these now.
We may have a surplus.
So it's going to take us a minute to get through what we have.
But, like, you guys sent those. You guys sent cards. You guys sent,
books.
Books. Like, the way that you have spoiled us, and the amount of just encouraging messages and prayers and stuff that you guys have given have just been a huge lifeline. And the reason we wanted to post this video today is that a lot of you guys will know later today, on Sunday, we're actually doing a live stream with our pastor talking about, like, a crisis of faith, like a faith in crisis. What does faith look like when you feel really abandoned? And so we wanted this video to go up before that, so you could kind of know the severity of what it was like. Right,
and kind of where I was mentally, because really in the worst of it, I was really struggling with, I mean, is God good? Does he love me? Because it sure doesn't feel like it.
Totally.
Really in the midst of it. So
yeah,
we're gonna break that down and talk about it.
That video, of course, will live on our channel as well. So if you're watching this video later, you're welcome to check that live stream out. If you're going through something like this, and I can genuinely say, like, we hope you get answers quick, and, like, we are so unbelievably sorry for what you're going through. But, like, keep pursuing it. like there is an answer out there, and
Yeah.
it might not be the first thing you think. For us, it wasn't the strep.
It was the third doctor.
Yeah, it was the third doctor,
Mm-hmm.
but for some of you, it may be the 10th doctor, the 12th doctor, the 20th doctor, right? But here's what I know is that there is an answer out there,
Mm-hmm.
and like don't give up, because like you're worth that fight,
Yeah.
right? Like
Which is what he had to keep reminding me.
I had to keep telling Sherri, like, you're worth fighting for. You're worth this fight. You're worth keeping going for.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, just remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And so keep going, pursue your answer, whatever and wherever it may be. Because again, now getting to see Sherri, at least healed in her journey, like the journey that's still happening, healing,
Yeah.
would have given anything to get here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, absolutely anything.
And there was certainly a point where I didn't think I would ever get here.
No, absolutely.
So
Yep.
I'm very thankful for where I'm at.
Yeah, me too. So friends, we love you guys. Thanks for being part of our community, part of our journey. Thanks for listening to all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that from here on forward, for the rest of LeggLife, every exfoliative erythroderma video we make is just positive updates.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I want. So friends, we love you. We'll see you on the next LeggLife video.